She says, "Hi, Tom and Dr. Anders. What is the difference, if any, between original sin in the Catholic Church and ancestral sin in the Eastern Orthodox churches?"
Okay, thanks. So Eastern Orthodoxy denies the dogma of original sin. They do think that because of the sin of Adam, humanity is subject to a kind of weakened moral condition, but they don't understand that to be sin that's propagated from Adam to his progeny. Now, in fairness, the way the Catechism of the Catholic Church describes original sin is that it is sin by analogy only. It's not real sin. It's not in the sense of personal guilt. And so I think sometimes the Eastern Orthodox polemic against the Catholic doctrine of original sin is a little bit of a parody of what the Church actually teaches, because we don't think that, and let's say a baby comes into the world personally guilty for the sin of Adam and subject to eternal punishment because of something that he himself did not do. Now, there have been characters in the Latin Christian tradition who have taken that position, and that is sort of the official line within Calvinism, for example, and Puritanism, that God just hates you in virtue of your very existence because it's so vitiated by sin that he can't stand the sight of you. That's Jonathan Edwards' famous sermon, "Sinners in the Hand of an Angry God." And he says that you're more loathsome to God than the most hideous serpent is in your eyes. That kind of comparison. And that's the doctrine of original sin can sort of fall under that caricature and obviously be an object of opprobrium. But again, the Eastern Orthodox Church doesn't use the language of original sin, and they prefer to think of a kind of being subjected to mortality and ignorance and moral weakness rather than sin as such. That's kind of the way they handle it. Now, there is a sort of modern Protestant charismatic concept of ancestral sin, which is something altogether different, and I want to speak to that and repudiate it, right? And that is the idea that individuals are subject to particular forms of spiritual attack by malevolent forces, demons, for example, or to temptations or sins, because of cosmic influences attracted to their family by their ancestors, right? And so you'll find in many charismatic circles the idea that individuals suffering difficulties in life or work or marriage have those problems through no fault of their own, but because of some ancestor that has introduced a kind of I think the language is an ancestral curse or something, and charismatic ministers allege to have the power to discern those things and to quote-unquote break them. And that notion of ancestral curses has been repudiated by the Catholic Church, and in fact the International Association of Catholic Exorcists put out a public statement a few years ago on that, saying it has nothing to do with the Catholic tradition at all. So get that out of your head as well.
Okay.